Okay.
I'll tell you when to start the timer. He's going to start the game, and then I'll.
Oh, no, okay.
Start.
Well, yeah, okay. So,
And go.
alright.
I guess I'll take
Yeah. Take the lead.
just trying to take the mic at this point. Hello everyone, I'm Sten, this is Dact, and this is Super Mario World 96 Exit Co-op. So, if anyone here has seen a Super Mario World 96 Exit run, this is basically, well, the same thing, but co-op. I'll be completing half the levels, Dact will be completing the other half of them, and then he will fight Bowser. So, Super Mario World, I guess I should explain 96 Exit. Super Mario World has, I think, 70 odd levels, and each of them has either 1 or 2 exits, so 96 Exit is the sort of full game category, going through beating all of those exits.
Yeah, I guess we're just going to swap commentary between levels because whoever's not playing can talk. So yeah, 96 Exit, as Sten said, we're beating all the levels, but some of the levels have multiple ways of beating them. They have a normal exit and a secret exit, so we're going to be doing all of those. The way the two-player game works is every time someone beats a level or dies, it switches to the other player, and the two players have separate movement on the overworld, and so we'll split up basically after we finish with World 1 and go do different parts of the game to make the overworld movement more optimized, I suppose. World 1 is pretty basic, just platforming.
Unfortunately, the co-op run, despite being faster or taking a more optimized route through the overworld, it still ends up about 3 minutes slower than a regular 96 exit run because of those transitions every time you switch character. So, you may have noticed that Dact grabbed fire here. This is something you don't see in a regular single-player run, because we both need to get fire at some point in this run. And I'll be grabbing it from Yoshi. I'll be grabbing it from E's Castle, but Dact needs to grab it somewhere, and it turns out Yoshi's Island 4 is the fastest place for him to get it.
So now Stan's going to do the first castle. There's 7 of these. You get a cutscene after each one of these, and it's just like a boss, I suppose. Something to address that often gets asked in stream chats is whether there's any difference between Mario and Luigi. There isn't. They are exactly the same, except for the color. So you don't need to learn different physics for Luigi. Luigi's just green Mario. Yeah. In the Game Boy Advance version of this, there's actual physics differences between Mario and Luigi. This is the first auto-scroller in the run. There's only a handful of these, and this one's reasonably short. And like all the bosses in this game, Iggy dies very quickly. And our first castle cutscene. These aren't super long, but they are a little bit of a break.
So we'll be moving on to Donut Plains now, where we get one of the more important things in the run, the cape. So the cape, it's very heavy part of the movement tech in Super Mario World. It's easily the most useful item for speedrunning. Oh, and of course, Dact is not actually getting it here. So it is one thing to note about flying with Cape is it's slightly luck-based, the flight speed you end up with. And if you get unless you get a particularly good flight speed, it's actually faster to play this level as Fire Mario. And then grab Cape in the next stage. So you'll notice the Dact got 15 bonus stars there. If you get 100 bonus stars, you end up getting a bonus game after the level, which ends up eating up a bunch of time, so you don't want to get any more than, well, you don't want to get 100 bonus stars.
Bonus games aren't super likely in co-op because you have separate bonus star counters, but it can be an issue in single player. So here's the Cape. You're going to be seeing a lot of this. If you get the rhythm correct with your Cape pumps, you can just stay up forever and just fly over levels. This game has a bit of a reputation for just being a lot of this, of tapping left. It's a bit less than it gets... it's a bit less than some people think, but it is still an important part of the game.
So here's another auto-scroller. Unfortunately, this one is both longer than the Iggy auto-scroller, and you have to do it twice. But thankfully we only have to do about half of this stage, and there is a little bit we can do to speed it up. And here we see Dak get his Cape. But yeah, the first section of this auto-scroll is really just a lot of messing around. Nothing too interesting to do. So what we'll see here is Dak is building up speed, and he's going to fly into this pipe here. Ooh, unfortunately he missed it. But one thing about the way flight works in this game is you sort of have a flight meter after you take off for about 1.3 seconds or so. And
Yeah, yeah, unfortunately I missed the flight, but that's fine, I can do it next time. Sten has the first water level. Swimming, when you're just swimming without holding anything, it's pretty straightforward. You just want to hold down and tap A to control your height. Holding down prevents you from going way up when you tap A. We grab that shell because when you are holding an item, you actually swim much faster. The physics are a bit weird, but yeah, it makes it harder to move up and down in the water, but horizontally you move a lot faster while holding an item.
so as I was explaining before I had to actually play the video game, if you enter, you have a certain flight meter after you take off, and then if you enter a door or a pipe, while you still have that flight meter, he's actually going to attempt it here as well. You can gain flight out of the pipe without having to build up speed, which is useful in a fair few places in the run. Saves barely a second in the Switch Palace, but well, not even a second, but saves a lot more elsewhere.
So the route that Sten is going to be taking through the overworld for at least the first part of the run is basically just taking the most direct path into World 3. I'll be clearing out the rest of World 2, but yeah, Sten's just going yeah, the direct path. And now I get to do the auto-scroller again.
Yes, these are truly exciting times for this speedrun. But hopefully we should be able to see the pipe fly that Dak attempted earlier. Unfortunately, maintaining speed through that section is a little tricky. Nice buzzy beetle. There we go, that's what Dak was going for last time. And then you can just fly through this room without having to build up speed. Saves a few seconds in that case.
So the next level Sten's doing, it is a flyover, but the takeoff is actually a bit tricky. He has to run on some moving platforms, and if he doesn't time his jumps correctly, he won't get speed and won't be able to take off. But he got it fine there. And then the rest of this level is just making sure you have a good flight speed, which most people do by looking at objects on screen. Because of the way the speeds work, you get slightly different at the objects kind of jitter up and down at or left and right at a different rate depending on what speed you have. You can judge it by the background as well, but that's a little bit more difficult.
So now Dact is going to be going and getting unlocking top secret area. Hopefully we will never need to enter top secret area, as it doesn't give you an exit. That flight there that he did at the start of the ghost house is actually surprisingly tight. It's a lot harder than it looks. So there are a few stages in this game that don't give you exits. Front and back door of Bowser's Castle, Yoshi's house, and top secret area. So we don't need to enter any of those. Well, I guess we need to enter Bowser's Castle to beat Bowser.
Yeah, when we say 96 exits, that does also involve beating the game, so we do have to fight Bowser. Sten is going to collect a Yoshi in this level. It's not, like, having Yoshi just movement-wise is not faster. Yeah, it's slower. But Yoshi is very useful for some glitches, which you will see pretty shortly. But yeah, just the animation of collecting Yoshi and then also his movement is a little bit slower than just regular cape flying. And then I'm going to be going back to the water level that we saw earlier to get the secret exit.
Yeah, so this should be pretty similar to... this exit's pretty similar to the normal exit, except, well, Dact will be going and instead of grabbing the P-switch and swimming under the level to the end, he'll be hitting the P-switch and using that to get to the secret exit. Oh. So it looks like Dak just had a few issues with his down button there. It's quite unusual, actually. Unfortunately, you can't just fireball. If you're swimming, you can't just fireball and rely on that fireball killing a fish. Often they will just kill you before the fireball kills them.
Yeah. Now I have to work out how to get my cape back, because that's really important. It's going to involve a little bit of rerouting, which is something you need to worry about in co-op especially, because when you go back to a previous level for a cape or something, you then have to switch back to the other player, and it messes up the route a little bit, but we should be fine. So this vertical flight, is actually really cool and really tricky. Vertical levels in general are quite tough, because the cape isn't really designed for flying up vertically like that. Oh, that was close. He was trying to use the spring to bounce up, but had some issues. And then we switched to fire because 3 of the bosses die much more quickly if you have fire. They die to 3 bounces or some number of fireballs, 12 fireballs. Or to 2 fireballs and a stomp, which is the fastest way to do it.
Hello. We have 2 donations. The first is a $1.69 donation from Jaden's mum. Hi Jaden, please call me when you can. Just want to make sure you're having a great day so far. Hope you're having fun at AvCon, sweetie. And the next donation was a $53.65 donation from our very own Kipples _ and he says, yeehaw.
So Dak's going to top secret area to grab this cape because A, he has it unlocked, and B, if you exit a level through the side, like in top secret area or Yoshi's house, it doesn't switch between players, which makes means we don't have to do much in the way of rerouting. So I guess one thing I should mention is that at the beginning of the ghost house, Dak sort of got hit by the boo ring, but Mario didn't take damage. What happens there is that when Mario is in flight and would normally take damage, he just sort of gets kicked out into a spin and gets invincibility frames instead of actually taking damage.
And now we get to see why we collected Yoshi, or the first reason why. Stephen is going to be doing a glitch here called wing duplication. This involves some duplicating blocks, which is done by throwing a shell or an object into the block at the right height, so that that all happens so quickly it's hard to explain. But you duplicate some blocks over the top of a dragon coin. Collect the top of the dragon coin, it makes a key block, and then you dupe the key block to the side and you get a wings block.
So Dak wasn't exactly supposed to enter that Star Warp, he was supposed to walk back up to the ghost house and continue on with World 2, but every now and again you just either blank or accidentally enter a Star Warp, it happens. So, normal exit of this ghost house is not too different to the secret exit with Big Boo, except you just enter a different door in this room and it takes you to the goal.
And then in the next level, we're going to see the second reason why we collected a Yoshi. You can use him to clip through walls. Yeah, hopefully. This is a really annoying trick to line up, so don't be surprised if it doesn't happen the first attempt. Nice. So you have to be careful there because there's actually no water inside the wall, and so Sten had to ditch Yoshi and kind of float through with the cape.
Yeah, if you don't ditch Yoshi, you can't swim because there's no water beneath the stage, so you just fall right off. So this level's a pretty straightforward flyover, with the caveat of there's a couple of pipes. So if you don't gain height quickly enough, you will just run into those pipes. But thankfully you can just fly right over the top of them. The developers didn't think it necessary to extend them above what you can see.
Yeah, there are a few levels that have off-screen obstacles to prevent you from doing that, but most of them don't. Oh, that was interesting. Sten went for something there that we call fast red, where you hit the P-switch and are able to get speed in this first room, but didn't quite get it. It's pretty tough. So we're going to get a kind of normal Switch Palace instead. And the blocks from this Switch Palace are going to help me in my next level, so...
Yes, so the next level that Dact is doing is Vanilla Dome 1 Secret Exit, which can be done without the red blocks, but red blocks do make things a little bit easier. And hopefully we should be able to maintain flight and fly off these red blocks here. Nice. We call that red block thing, for obvious reasons. It is a thing on the red blocks. It's a lot more tight than it looks.
Yeah, you only have a very small block, like, you have one block to land on, so... And then we're gonna get the other exit here. We can't do the clip this time because we don't have a Yoshi. I don't know if it would even be useful.
No, you get stuck.
Yeah, but we're gonna instead use some properties of water and vines in order to maintain P-speed through this section. If you have speed and you go underwater or climb a vine, you maintain that speed for when you jump off or out of the water. And then Sten needs to be careful to hit that buzzy beetle shell again in the water. Otherwise it'll wake up and hit him before he gets to the end. And that's a sticky fly. If you pull up out of a dive bomb underneath a wall at the correct in the correct way, you'll just stick to the ceiling. Looks kind of cool. It doesn't save any time, but it just looks cool.
Yep, so the next level that Dact's doing is Vanilla Secret 1. This is actually a fairly technical vertical level. So he'll be flying and attempting just to reach the top as quickly as possible. So Secret Exit, relatively easy. Just have to enter this pipe, but then on the normal exit he'll have to navigate past like a horizontal line of Koopas that's in his way. Which is definitely not easy.
And that level's even harder than in regular 96 because ideally you want to collect, you want to pick up the shell from the Koopa that's next to you on that first jump. But it's a bit more difficult when you're doing this level earlier rather than later in the run. Not too much to say about this ghost house. He's going to use a cape cancel on the boo ring at the end just to get through more quickly. That was interesting. And then spin fly through this room, and he's going to do, hopefully, something called an item fly with this P-switch. Nice, yeah. So if you pick up an object while you're flying without touching the ground, you'll be able to fly with the object, and it gives you a strange animation, because the game doesn't really expect you to be doing that.
It's also worth noting that with that last door, if you hit the P-switch before you collect the coins surrounding the door, you just get locked out and have to, like, loop around and do half the level again. So here we'll be seeing something similar to what Dak did on the last exit. But he'll keep that shell... Ooh, didn't throw the shell up. So what he was trying to do there was throw the shell up and get it through the row of Koopas, but thankfully there's an easy backup cape there and he can just finish the rest of the level. And those green spring platforms are very finicky. If they're like near the top of the screen, sometimes they just won't have hitboxes. And you won't be able to bounce on them at all.
Yeah, that level can definitely go much worse, so considering I got hit. And then this is a very tough level. I'm glad Sten gets to do this one in the run. The first room isn't so bad, but he's going to be going for some interesting stuff in the second room. Alright, so we're going to collect a Yoshi in this room from the question mark block here. And then Sten is going to do something we call raft skip. He might be able to recover this. He's getting bad luck with the mid-air turnarounds. Yeah, nah. That sucks. That's a very hard trick.
Yeah, unfortunately I couldn't quite save that. I hit the what I was supposed to do there was bounce off that blog instead of getting kicked off Yoshi, but I was a bit too far to the left. And yeah, couldn't save it. I was trying to recover it with just flying, but flying mechanics are a bit finicky. You can turn around mid-air, but then it's only a 50% chance you'll turn around. And yeah, I just didn't quite handle it as well as I could have. So I won't be attempting that again. Yeah.
And so because he doesn't have a cape now, he has to take this section a bit more slowly, actually ride the rafts. That was interesting. Yeah, when he had cape, he was able to maintain P-speed and fly through this section, bounce on the blocks, but it's not too awful to ride the raft. And there's a backup feather right here. So he's still going to get Yoshi, but he's going to go for a slightly easier strat. We're going to do something similar to what happened in the first room, where you just kind of fly back and forth and maintain P-speed by running on the raft, and then yeah, get a P-speed jump through here. Still reasonably tricky, but much simpler than raft skip.
So Dact is moving on to Vanilla Secret 3, which is another fairly straightforward level. Just have to fly over it. But this one has dolphins, so it's better than a lot of the other flyovers. A fun fact is that you can eat the dolphins in the Japanese version of the game with Yoshi. They patched that on the US and PAL releases for some reason. Apparently, eating dolphins is not appropriate in Western countries.
So at some point we're going to have to make a slight route adjustment because I'm now one level ahead of Sten in the route. It shouldn't be a big deal, but we will have to work it out at some point. Unless I die. And then this level, it's a flyover, kind of, but because you have Yoshi, you still have to like learn the jumping pattern. Because you can't just stay up indefinitely while you have Yoshi. Yeah, easy. And then...
We have a $5.61 donation from Jaden's mum again, who says, "Okay, honey, just getting a bit worried. Come meet me where we saw those cat girls you liked."
So Dact in this level, this is a water level. You just there's no items that you can pick up to speed things up. But what this level does have is a thwomp. Ideally, we don't want to see that thwomp. So there's a very precise trick that Dact can do where he spins his cape coming out of this next pipe, and if he does that at the right time, the thwomp will just despawn. So unfortunately, the thwomp has appeared and will bring bad luck with it. All the Resnauts will be aggressive. speaking of which, this is our first Resnor. They appear at the end of every fortress. There are 4 fortresses in the game. The way they, like, the rotation is always consistent, but the fireballs they shoot is random. So if you get unlucky with the fireballs, things can go bad pretty quick.
And now Sten has the next castle. He spins at the very start here to prevent Magic Cooper from spawning in front of him. And then he can kind of fly through this section. Yeah. And then the room coming up, it's kind of an auto-scroller. Like the floor moves up and down. And unfortunately the pattern is such that you have to wait in a few places. I think it's possible to skip an extra cycle compared to what we do, but it's very, very, very difficult. You can skip one cycle though, using a cape float right here. Yep, it's not too difficult. Despawn that dry bones by walking off to the left, and then use a dive bomb to kill those guys so he can get speed through there. And Lemmy is just a random boss. He spawns in... I mean, he's got a bunch of patterns, but it's essentially random which pipe he spawns in. Only just made him on that last one.
So how are we rerouting? How are we rerouting? Do we need to do anything?
Oh yeah, because I'm ahead, aren't I? Yeah. We've been through this.
Yeah, so Dak and I are sort of just thinking about the way we're gonna fix the route at the moment. Thankfully, the main important part of the route is that Mario gets to Forest before Luigi does. And because I'm the one that took the death rather than Dact, it's just, we can wait until later to level it out. So Dact is now entering Butterbridge 1, which is a 2-minute long auto-scroller. Very, very exciting stuff. But it's an auto-scroller, but it's difficult enough that you need to pay attention or you have the potential to die. You can't just completely autopilot. Yeah, there's really not much that can be said about this stage. You don't want to die here, that's the main thing. So there is a pipe fly strat you can do at the end of the stage as well, which is saves like a fraction of a second, but it's kind of hard.
Yeah, the pipefly strat's not that hard, I just haven't done it in a while and I don't remember the setup. Yeah, thankfully that's over with. There's only one more auto-scroller, and it's not as bad as that one. Yeah, this is a very tricky level. If you have Yoshi and a cape, you can jump here, and then just hold buttons, and everything works out. Yeah, we're watching Bar Hunger practice some Super Monkey Ball.
So Dac's heading into Butterbridge 2, which is Another flyover stage. Pretty straightforward, just have to make sure you don't run into any of the Super Koopas. Which is not difficult, you just fly about this height. I promise this game isn't all flying over levels, it's just like a third flying over levels. Yeah, so just by virtue of the way the routes have worked out, it turns out that Luigi has the much more difficult path than Mario. He has a lot of the more technical and difficult tricks.
And that's why we've got Sten doing Luigi, because he's better at the game than I am. And speaking of difficult tricks, this is hopefully going to be Cookie Mountain Boss Kill. Let's see what it can do. Oh, okay. So he was going for something frame perfect there and didn't get it, unfortunately. But we will hopefully see it, a similar kind of trick, much later in the run, towards the end. He was attempting to do some glitchy shenanigans to spawn a boss, like a Koopa Kid, in the normal level, which he could then kill and end the level instantly. Nice. Yeah, unfortunately, the one of the parts of that trick is a 1-frame input, so 1/60th of a second.
So this is Castle 4, Ludwig's Castle. It's got some interesting tech to it, so we do dive bombs just to keep speed through this first room. Another cape cancel on a chain, ball on chain. Ooh, goodbye fire. So Dact was attempting to switch to fire at the start of that room, but unfortunately missed it, and it fell through the floor, and there's just nothing you can do about that. And then, yeah, lost his cape as well, but should be fine. He can grab a cape in Forest of Illusion 1, which is his next stage. Unfortunately, though, this means he has to kill Ludwig without fire, and fire saves more time on Ludwig than any other boss. Because he does this whole rolling around, jumping all over the place animation before you can attack him again. But Dak did manage to get a cycle skip on him. If you hit him mid-air, as he's falling like that, it saves another cycle of him rolling around, which is about 14 seconds.
Yeah, that was a really unfortunate power-up loss. But as Sten said, I can kind of recover it in the next stage. Not super fast, but it'll work. And I am one level ahead as well, so if I was to die, it would not have been the worst thing in the world. It would have put us back on track. And so as Mario heads into Forest, Luigi is going to head back and clear out the other exit in Cheese Bridge area, the secret exit. You might have noticed in the first time he went through here, he didn't actually hit a goalpost. He got the Yoshi wings midway through the level. And so, to get the secret exit, we're going to be skipping the first goalpost and flying underneath to get the second one. It's a pretty specific timing on this dive bomb, or not dive bomb, but just float down. And Sten was having to listen to the TV to count his cake pumps, I think.
Yeah, most of the... Well, when I'm flying, I generally do it by sound, and it's just a bit harder in a loud place like this. So, Dactyly, both... Ooh... Well, that evens out the route, I guess.
Yeah, unfortunately when you die it switches character. Okay, so this is Soda Lake. This is similar to the fortress that I did before in that it's a water level, but it has no items that you can pick up, and so you have to do the slow swim through the whole thing. Unlike the fortress, this has a lot more obstacles, but they're consistent enough that as long as you know the swimming pattern, you'll be fine. Weave through the torpedo teds. And then he's going to delay just a tiny bit before this section so that the torpedoes fire to the left rather than to the right. Them firing to the right kind of blocks you from getting into the pipe as quickly as possible.
So Dact once again will be entering Forest of Illusion 1, and here he'll be grabbing his cape back and a Yoshi, which he'll be using in Forest of Illusion 2 for another clip. But Dact won't be heading straight to Forest of Illusion 2. He'll be grabbing the secret exit here, and then heading to taking the long way around, the S path as we call it, through the forest, just because that's the shape it takes on the overworld.
Yeah, so that wasn't the fastest FOI one ever, but I got everything I needed. And then, unfortunately, this overworld pass is really long, and there's not really any good way to avoid taking it twice in co-op. In regular 96, you would enter Star World through that Star Warp, but it doesn't really work out with the co-op route. Wrong level? Yeah. Sten entered the wrong level there, but it's fine. It doesn't actually mess up the route at all. I guess Sten is probably going to be going for wings in this level. Or not. That was interesting. I've never seen that before. Okay, so no wings. There is a wing juke possible in this stage. It doesn't save that much time. It's like 7 seconds. But instead we can just get the regular exit. Although that does mean Sten doesn't have a Yoshi, which he needs for FOI 2. So, remains to be seen what he'll do about that.
Yeah, I just want to point out I'm quite confused by what just happened there. Yeah, I guess I will go back and grab a Yoshi. We'll throw off the route a little, but should be fine.
So yeah, just some cape cancels to get through the booze at the start there. And then you can fly over that wall, which skips half the level. It's quite convenient. Yes. Both exits in that level are basically the same. You just fly a bit further for the secret exit. Sten really wanted to go for a tricky clip in this level, but unfortunately he can't because of the way the power-ups have worked out. And then yeah, just the same as what I did, but he's going to fly a bit further and get to the other door with the moon. Gives you a nice 3-up.
Yeah, Dac's going to be moving on to Forest of Illusion 4. Yeah, so this is a fairly straightforward stage, just fly through on Yoshi. Requires a little bit more thought than your average flyover, but it's still fairly straightforward.
And I was keeping the Yoshi there because I'll need it for another Yoshi clip in the next level. And Sten's gonna have to re-enter FOI1 to get a Yoshi to do the same clip that I'm gonna do. We have to do it twice. This is gonna mess the route back up, but it's kind of fine at this point.
Yeah, so here we're going to see Dak do a Yoshi clip. It's fairly similar to what we saw in Vanilla Dome 2 earlier, except this is a much easier one to set up. Unfortunately, he got kicked out of the clip there. There's a 1 in 4 chance of that happening, just based on the frame that you do the dismount inside the wall. It's entirely beyond his control. And then he's going to grab this throw block here, just because you swim faster with an item, and you can grab that without swimming back in bounds entirely. Unfortunately though, if you do swim back in bounds in that stage, you are just stuck and have to play the level normally, which is significantly slower.
Yeah, FOI2 without the clip is horrible. I think optimally it's not that much slower, but you need to be able to do it optimally, which is not easy. So Sten's going to go for the same thing again. He's going to get the secret exit. Hopefully he can put it off first try. Nice. And then most of this is going to be the same until he reaches the key, at which point he'll, instead of just picking it up to swim faster, he'll actually go to the keyhole and get the secret exit.
So Dak is now going to be making his way out of the forest through FOI3 secret exit. This is basically just another flyover stage, except he has to enter a pipe instead of flying to the goal.
Yep, so I take the secret exit to take me out of the forest. Sten's going to clear up the rest of the forest exits, and then head towards the fortress and take the other way out of the forest. So he pulled off the pipe fly that time. There is a thing that we're going for on the Switch Palaces. There's one more opportunity to get it. It's just a little swag thing that hopefully we'll see on Yellow Switch.
So Dak is now doing Roy's Castle, which has a bit of interesting cape tech right here at the start. The idea of the level is that you're supposed to ride that block snake that you saw right at the start, but instead you can just fly, and if you do a well-timed dive bomb, get through all those potaboos and fly most of the stage. Saves a significant amount of time over doing the stage the intended way. And unfortunately he doesn't have fire here, so he just needs to stomp on Roy a few times. Loses about 4 seconds.
Yeah, that flight is not easy. There's a lot of tight spaces to get through. You need to be able to keep track of where you are and be confident with your cape movement. So from this point, my route is pretty simple. I basically take the same route that you would take in a normal 96 run. I clear out Chocolate Island and Valley Bowser, and then go fight Bowser. Sten's going to head out to the other exit of the forest towards Star World and do Star World and Special World. No. But first we just have the normal exit of this level, which is same as what I just did. The takeoff at the start of this level is actually reasonably precise, taking off before the bubble. If you jump too late, you'll just hit the bubble and cry.
So the next stage for Dact is Chocolate Island 1, which, not quite your average flyover. He's actually going to be attempting a pipe fly. So there's a pipe cannon in the middle of the stage. Well, there's 2 pipe cannons in the stage, but he's going to be entering the first one. And he's going to try to, as mentioned earlier, you can maintain flight if you get fired, or if you through a pipe or a door. And in this case, the pipe fires you out significantly faster than your normal top speed, which just saves. It ends up saving about a second once you take into account the extra pipe transition and stuff.
Yeah, it might not have been obvious, but I was flying a lot faster there than normal. The usual top speed that you can get from Cape Fly is 51. The unit is sub-pixels per frame, but yeah, it's essentially 51. But when I did that pipe fly, I was flying at 64 speed, so it's considerably faster. And then Sten's going to get the secret exit here through this pipe and head out towards Forest Secret area.
So an interesting thing about moving at 64 speed is that the game isn't programmed properly to jump at that speed. So if you jump, you just stay on the ground. So this ghost house is reasonably straightforward. Just fly through this first room, although there is a pipe above the level, so you have to fly just low enough that you won't hit the pipe, but then still above the fish and boo. Otherwise he'll cape cancel on him and potentially have a bad time.
And I was able to bounce up to that door by cape cancelling through the boo laser. Only the front boo in the chain has like a hitbox that you can bounce on, but they all damage you, so you can cape cancel off the back one and then bounce off the front one.
Yeah, go for it.
We have a $10.95 donation from Anonymous. Thank you very much. And we also have a $5.61 donation from Jaden's mom again, who says, "Sweetie, I'm leaving in 5 minutes, and if you're not here, then you won't be getting any tendies tonight. You're a big boy now, and at 32 years old, you should be more organized than this."
So this stage is Chocolate Island 2, which is quite an interesting one just from a level design perspective. What room you get when you enter a pipe is determined by a few different factors. The first one is determined by how many coins you collect in the first room. The second is determined by the time on the game timer when you enter that pipe. So if you enter that pipe at 250 or above, you get this room for the secret exit. And if you enter at any lower, you'll get a path that takes you to the normal exit.
Yeah, when I go back through that level the second time, you'll see me do some waiting. So this is the final auto-scroller of the run. We get to see an interesting property of the cape here. Or I suppose a property of these crushers, where if you are not stood on the ground, they won't crush you, and you can just stick inside them like that. Remember the platform isn't there? One thing that we have to remember in co-op is that we do the switch palaces at different times in the run, and so occasionally, like right here, in a normal 96 exit run, those yellow blocks would be up, and so we'd have a platform there. So in co-op, it's not unreasonable to just forget that you won't have a platform there and fall off. And then this room is actually really fun. It's annoying that it's after the auto-scroller, but... Okay, thankfully he had a backup cape, so we're still all fine. Yeah. So that could have been much worse.
So the next level Dak will be doing is Chocolate Secret, which is an interesting level. There's so the first room is fairly straightforward. There is a nice strat that just lets you get through here with ease, no matter what these chucks throw at you as far as footballs go. And then it has a vertical falling room, which is something you don't see too many of in this game. And it might seem counterintuitive flying when you're supposed to be falling, but it just allows you to get a bit of extra speed up. Saves a bit of time. And this last room's a bit annoying because you want to be flying off screen, especially for these start sections over the sandbar thing. But then you've got these chucks here that eat your cape sound half the time, which just can throw off the rhythm a little. But yeah, no problems getting through there. Always good to see.
So now that Sten's on Forest Fortress, he gets access to the Star Warp, which he can use to get into Star World, and that's going to be essentially the rest of the run for him is clearing out Star World and Special World. Star World has a fair few easy exits. It does have a couple of difficult ones, but Star World 4 here, for instance, is a fly. Well, it's a fly under, so you do need to be careful with your gate pumps. If you miss a gate pump or you go too low, you'll fall off the bottom of the screen. Like Sten nearly did right there.
Yeah, so I was just demonstrating what happens if you miss a cape pump and how it looks a bit scary. That was definitely intentional. So as mentioned earlier, there's going to be a little bit of waiting around for this exit. So what happened there was one of us accidentally hit L or R, which brings up a screen that allows you to switch lives between players. Hopefully we shouldn't need that screen in this speedrun, but it is there. Yeah. So Dak collected, I think it's upwards of 21 coins in that first room, which gives you this next room with the backup cape. And then he's going to wait here and set up another pipe fly, just because you've got the time, you're stuck waiting around, might as well get a bit of extra speed coming out of this pipe. Ooh. Unfortunately, flight didn't quite go according to plan, but should be able to get through here unscathed.
Yeah, unfortunately I didn't get speed in that last room either. I intentionally missed a dragon coin so that I would get that room and not one of the other rooms. It's just better in this category. And then we get the fly under again, although this one's a little bit tougher because you need to get into the secret exit, and so you need to be able to climb quite quickly after you get past the paracoopers. It's a good place to get a backup cape if you needed one, but Sten's not bothering.
Yeah, so one of the reasons I didn't grab a backup cape there is because in Star World 1, which is 2 stages away, I'll be grabbing a backup mushroom and using it to feed Yoshi. So I'm just going to be quiet for this one because flying over the stage is not always easy. It's quite an easy stage. It's just with those the two pipes are fairly close to the start of the level, so just getting enough height to get over them initially can be difficult, especially if you miss a cape pump. It can just throw everything off.
Yeah, I mean it's a flyover, but you do need to be able to gain height very quickly at the start. And another level where you need to gain height at the start is Star World 5. You need to make it over the ceiling of the level, I suppose. There's a small space. Yeah, so you can fly in the space between those blocks and the top of the level, but Sten landed on the ground. And then I get to do the flyover again. Yeehaw.
Yeah, CI3 normal exit unlocks CI3 again, really. It's probably the most useless overworld path in the game, but it's one of my favorites. So it's just a matter of flying over this stage. He's going to fly over the normal goalpost, because there's a secret goalpost further on in the stage.
Well, that was as simple as that level is. It's one of the ones I was most scared of, so I'm glad I got through that. Especially barely being able to hear the TV. So now we're going to see Sten do Star World 1. This is probably the most difficult level in Star World because of these zips. Because you can only have a certain number of these turn blocks spinning at once. That was a problem. If you position yourself correctly.
Yeah, so I'll talk more about zips when we get back there, but Chocolate Fortress is a very... the first room of this level is quite technical and difficult. But yeah, Dact had no problems getting through there. The timing on those spin flies is pretty tight. And then this room's just a matter of flying straight through, and it'll face another Resnor. And this Resnor is quite nice in that, just with the way the RNG works in this game, you end up with a consistent fireball on him every time. The bottom left guy will shoot there, and nothing else will happen. Yeah, Choco Resnor is... if you play the level properly, then he will always be passive.
So Sten can't really go for zips here straight away anymore because he doesn't have a cape. They require being able to spin these turn blocks with the cape. So he's going to head down this other direction and get a cape, which is hidden in the blocks here. And then he can still go for this zip if he wants to. Nice. Yeah, so you get stuck in the turn blocks as they are because you can only have a certain number of them spinning at once, they'll end up just pushing you downwards as they start and stop spinning. But as you can see, if you zip too far off the bottom of the screen, like Sten did the first time, the game thinks you've fallen in a hole and kills you. So.
Yeah, I just wanted to demonstrate that mechanic. It was an intentional thing. So this is Chocolate Island 4. Bit of a fun stage. Spin flying through lots of angled slope areas. Does a dive bomb there to get one of the moles out of the way and then just flies through the rest of the stage. Not particularly difficult, but it's a fun one.
And there's a whole bunch of ways to do that level as well. There's different parts for the dive bombs, and you don't have to get flight at the end. You can just do neutral jumps. There's a bunch of different ways. And now Sten's going to do Star Wars 1 again. This one's a bit shorter because he's getting the secret exit, which is only a little bit of the way down. That was interesting. He broke a block but left the one on top of it alive. There we go.
Yeah, so that's what I was aiming to do the first time when I died. Dak's gonna grab a Yoshi here. Missed the P-switch there. And this Yoshi will be useful for Valley of Bowser 4. Sorry, Valley of Bowser 2 and Valley of Bowser 4. We'll be using it to collect wings in VOB 2.
So now Stan gets to do the most fun level in the game, Star World 2. You grab this baby Yoshi at the start here, and then you can basically just swim above the stage the rest of the way. Spinning to the music. Yeah, we can't hear the game very well, so maybe we were spinning to the music. So you get the secret exit here, and then you will also get the normal exit, but that one's a little bit more interesting.
So this is Wendy's castle. In this first room, Dak's going to be going for a trick called Crush's Spear, or maybe not. So unfortunately, I think he just hit that saw at just the wrong moment. So unfortunately, because of that mistake, he wasn't able to attempt the Crusher Skip. Basically, Crusher Skip allows you to get through... Okay. Crusher Skip allows you to get through that whole section in one cycle. It saves a little bit of... I guess you can one cycle it without Crusher Skip, but it just saves a little bit of extra time. But because of losing P speed and getting hit, he wasn't able to attempt it as he usually would. And here's our 6th Koopaling, Wendy. Pretty similar to the Lemmy fight, except all the pipes are just completely flat, which makes it significantly easier. The Podoboos bounce in a more predictable fashion.
Yeah, and you can also sometimes see Wendy's feet for a frame or two just before she pops out, so you get warning as to where she's going to be. And there was a backup cape I could have grabbed just before the Wendy fight, but there's another one in the next level that's faster, so I skipped it. And then I think we're seeing the shortest exit in the... No, the second shortest exit in the game from Sten right now, which is Star Wars 3 secret exit. That was an item fly. We mentioned those earlier, but if you pick up an item while flying without touching the ground, you can fly with the item.
So we've gone from one of the shortest exits in the game to one of the longest. This is Sunken Ghost Ship. It's, for some reason, despite being essentially a ghost house, it still allows you to bring Yoshi in, which is, I guess a little bit, it makes this room a little bit easier. So Dak's gonna get kicked off Yoshi a couple of times here deliberately, and that's gonna, ooh, unfortunately he got stuck against the ceiling and jackhammered. Thankfully, when you get hit by these boos, Yoshi runs slower than you do. But he won't be able to go for the usual trick he does here. So normally we'd align the boo rings properly, or align the boo cloud properly, and then nice. Normally we'd align the boo cloud properly, and it would despawn that first boo ring, but with it there, you had to swim through, which is a bit more dangerous. And then this room is just a matter of knowing where to fall. Oh yeah, there is also a bit of lag in this room, so we reduce it by eating some of the Koopas. Orb. That's an orb. Oh. You're right, it's gone.
So that lets me enter Valley of Bowser. This is the last world, but obviously Sten still has a bunch of stuff to do as well, so still a fair bit away. And then now we have the shortest exit in the game. Star Wars 3 normal exit, which is just right here. There is a possibility that if the Lakitu throws his shell at the wrong time, the goalpost will just despawn.
Yeah, I think that's either 1 in 256 or 1 in 512. The chance of that happening, it's very slim. So this is Valley of Bowser 1. Pretty cool level. Just a lot of running through with P speed on Yoshi. And then he caped the chuck there at the end of the stage just to, so he could get through those throw blocks a little bit faster.
Star Wars 2? Yeah, so we're going to see Star Wars 2 again. Most of this level is the same as the first time, but he is going to use this mushroom in his item box to feed... Sorry, we're being talked over by the announcer.
This Legacy Esport is now starting in Whole Cave. Just repeating, ladies and gentlemen, the Counter-Strike Grand Final with Chief Esport Club versus Legacy Esport Club is now starting in Whole Cave.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So he's going to use this mushroom to feed Yoshi and make adult Yoshi, which he's then going to use for Star Wars 5 Secret and most of Special Worlds. Blue Yoshis are pretty useful.
Yeah, so I don't know if we talk much about Yoshi mechanics, but if you have a blue Yoshi or your Yoshi has a blue shell in his mouth, he gets wings and you can fly. Because apparently having one way to fly over things in Mario World wasn't enough for Nintendo. So unfortunately Dak did take a hit. Well, got kicked off Yoshi through this first room of Valley of Bowser 2, but it's not too much of an issue. You can just hop back on and head through here. And this is the main reason we got Yoshi in Chocolate Island. Just grab those wings. Otherwise you have to sit through a whole section of sandbar moving up and down that takes forever.
I'll still have to sit through that, but only on the secret exit.
Yes.
So this is another place where we need to remember that the switch blocks are a bit different from the normal route. Can't do the strat that he'd normally do. Shoutouts to causing lag for some reason. Yeah, and that's Star World finished, so Sten can head into Special World, which has some very difficult levels.
And Dact is entering Choco Goat. No. Valley Ghost House. And it looks like he's going for the door fly strat here. So you can do a door fly out of this door and then fly to... Yeah, fly through that room instead of having to hit the P-switch and run along the platforms. It's a little bit spooky. And in that last room, you got a trick called Sexy Slide, which is where you slide cleanly through that gap.
Okay. I mean, take the lives if you want, that's fine. So, Gnarly, way back in Vanilla Dome, we saw a wing duplication. This is the second one of those. He's going to dupe this block upwards, and then dupe that block upwards afterwards. Nice. Okay, still fine. Did you... I'm not quite sure what happened there. Okay, he's gonna get a new shell. Are you sure? Yeah, this is a weird way to mess this up. Yeah, so we're going through the normal way, which is something I haven't seen in quite some time. Yeah. Gnarly Wings is not too difficult if you're comfortable with your block dupes, but it can still go wrong. Usually when it goes wrong, it's not in a way that you have to go through the level normally, though.
I'm genuinely confused as to what happened there. I don't know why that didn't work. I'll have to watch that back because I really don't know why the wings block wasn't there. So normal exit of the ghost house, pretty straightforward. Just go right, hit the P-switch, head to the door.
Yeah, so thankfully Sten managed to keep his Yoshi through all of that. And so he can go for the wings in Tubular. These ones are a bit different. They don't involve duping blocks with shells. Instead, he's going to pick up a P-switch and stick it in the corner here. That's a problem. Okay, well, he got the wings.
This is so sad. So, unfortunately there, I just ran right off the spring. I had the wings, and then I just died. So, looks like I'll probably need to go back and get a new Yoshi and... Yeah, a new Yoshi and Cape. I'm just trying to think of where the best place to do that would be.
Yeah, so Sten's going to head back to top secret exit through one of the star warps in order to pick up a mushroom and a cape. And a Yoshi. Thankfully, Star World gives you access to most of the game pretty quickly, so... So yeah, this is some overworld time loss, but unfortunately this can happen where you just end up in a situation where you need power-ups and they're pretty far away. Can be quite a punishing game to die in. So he's gonna go for the wings again. Nice. There we go. That's much better. So you stick the P switch in that corner, and for some reason it creates a wing factory. Sten can probably explain it better than I can.
Yeah, so basically, the way those blocks work is that essentially the wings, P-balloons, and keys all share the same block. It determines what it spawns based on its horizontal position in the level. So by duplicating, say, a key block to the right, you end up with wings, or duplicating a P-balloon block to the left, you end up with wings. And then in that case, we just jam the P-switch in such a way that it's duping that block every frame.
So that was the only exit in the game that you need Yoshi for? There's no other way to get to that key. And then this is one of the easier levels in Special World. Just got to make sure you land on that on-off switch. And then there's another set of wings. This one's intended. One of the 3 actual intended wings in the game. Don't have to play the second half of the stage.
And then Dak will be heading back into Valley of Bowser 4. Essentially, basically the same thing that he did just a moment ago. Only he'll be flying over the key and to the goal, which is right next to it. So one thing for us to think about is that I've died 3 times. Or at least 3 times more than Dact, which means that at some point towards the end of the run, Dact will have to start select a few times just to level things out, so I can beat Yellow Switch immediately before he does Bowser.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure where I'm going to do that yet. Probably in VOB 2, but it's not super surprising that Sten's died more, considering his run is a fair bit harder. Also, don't do Awesome Flower, you have a flower. So this is a Yoshi flyover, you have a blue Yoshi so you can just pick up shells and fly over the whole stage. Normally we'd pick up a flower in this level, which is kind of cool, the strat for it is interesting, but because Sten got one in Top Secret, he doesn't need to do that.
So this is the last of the numbered castles, Larry's Castle, number 7. And this first room, fairly straightforward, just fly through to the door. The second room has pencils and Magikoopa, which are not a good combination. So you have to fly carefully to avoid getting sucked into the pencils. And Magikoopa is very random in his movements. Oh, very random in where he spawns, and he can just get in your way and ruin your day, much like that.
Thank you.
But thankfully, Dak managed to get Kate back fine, and it's grabbing her back up, and just on to beat Larry. Larry is one of the few bosses where it's not faster to beat him with fire. It's just as quick to do it with Cape because of the time it would take to swap to fire in that fight.
Yeah, it's pretty helpful to have 2 capes going into that castle, because sometimes you can just get owned by Magikoopa and there's not much you can do about it. But as long as you have a second cape, it's not the end of the world. And there is a green block at the end, so you can get a cape from that as well. So in Sten's next level, he's going to go for another tricky trick. This one, it's similar to what happened in Cookie Mountain, or what didn't happen in Cookie Mountain, but this one's easier and saves more time. So hopefully this should work out. Looks good so far. Oh, what happened there? Oh, that was strange. It looked fine, and then It wasn't. I don't know how to do that trick, and I don't understand it very well, so I can't explain why that didn't work. But, yeah, it looked fine for a while. But it's the same thing as in Cookie Mountain, where he was trying to spawn a Koopa Kid inside the level, and then kill it to end the level.
So what happened there was, basically I was trying to, after doing that double tongue, the green shell got eaten, and then I needed to get the get the blue Koopa on Yoshi's tongue before I got hit off Yoshi by the red Koopa. But unfortunately I didn't actually get the blue Koopa on Yoshi's tongue, so I just ended up with nothing in Yoshi's mouth. The idea of that glitch is to end up with the blue Koopa inside and outside Yoshi's mouth at the same time, and then you despawn him and load a different guy into the same slot, and then do a bunch of other stuff. Oh yeah, that is a 2-frame trick. We call it sandbar clip because you're clipping through the sandbar. It's quite difficult. Yeah, that one is not. That one, if you just stand against that wall, you will always clip there. And then we already have the normal exit of this stage, so we just fly over this wall to the secret exit. Put the key in the hole.
Yeah, I normally wouldn't go for that in 96, but it helps that I'm ahead on exits, and so if I died, it would have just helped to get the route back on track. So this is Mondo. The takeoff here is a little interesting. Nice, okay, so Sten went for the faster version there. I wasn't expecting that. Normally you would get boosted up onto that top platform and kind of run left and right to get P-speed, but Sten did the faster setup, which is pretty tight. So I have to start selecting how many times?
So what Dak's going to do here, he's going to walk back to Valley of Bowser 2 and then just enter the level and start select out, just to fix up the route so that we're back in the right spot.
Yeah, I'm just going to have to do that a couple times so that we're even on the route. It's one of the reasons that deaths in this category are quite punishing. But because I have to fight Bowser, like, Sten can't keep doing more levels after I do Bowser, so... And this is outrageous. This is the easiest... Well, if you have a cape, it's the easiest level in Special World. If you don't have a cape, it's one of the hardest levels in the game. As you might have been able to see, there's a lot of bullshit in the bottom there.
Yeah, outrageous without a cape is very difficult, but super satisfying when you do it right. Because even if you enter with Yoshi, there's no Koopas anywhere in the stage, so you can't fly over it or anything like that.
And then Funky, this is a pretty long one, but it's, again, a flyover. There's some pipes that you need to fly over, but they're quite far into the level, so it's not particularly difficult to gain enough height. There are some blocks off screen, which you might have noticed Sten just hit. They're just kind of there to prevent you from flying over like this, but they don't do their job very well. As long as you don't fly too high, you'll just go under them and then can go back. And then you get to find out that you are super player. The Japanese version has an interesting thing there where it doesn't, instead of saying you are a super player, it just says you are super player.
So an interesting thing about those, like those blocks above the level. An interesting thing about those blocks above the level is that they technically don't exist. They're actually just a glitch caused by the sumo bros lower in the stage.
I actually didn't know that. I thought they were there intentionally. And then now Sten gets to go back to the start of the game, because beating Special World takes you back to Yoshi's Island and take the left path, which we completely skipped the first time through, because this level and the Switch Palace are slightly faster with Cape. Also beating Special World changed some stuff in the overworld and made a bunch of enemies slightly different. It doesn't really matter in this category at all, but in regular 96 we beat Special much earlier, and it affects the some of the strats.
So now Dact is going back to actually playing stages, which is a nice change of pace from start selecting. And he's moving on to Valley Fort, which is a reasonably tricky fort. There's a lot of flying around in order to preserve your P speed. You may notice that he scrolled left at the start of the stage. That was in order to load the crusher slightly later so he could get through unscathed. It is possible to get through without scrolling, but it's either luck dependent or just more difficult. And that... Oh... Oh... That fly through that last section is quite tricky. And unfortunately that's left him with no cape for Bowser, which will make that fight a bit slower.
Yeah, trying to keep speed through the end there is not really worth it. It doesn't save much time, but I was practicing it earlier and getting it every time, so that's kind of disappointing. And the Bowser fight is quite a lot slower with no cape, so that's kind of annoying. I could go back for one, but it's not worth it. Oh yeah, last chance for a jump. So if you jump on the same frame that you land on those switches, you jump off the switch. It's a one-frame thing, it doesn't save any time, but it's pretty swaggy. And that's 10 done, I just have one more level.
Yep, so the only thing left now is backdoor of Bowser. So if you enter Bowser's castle through the front door, you go through a few rooms. You have to choose like 2 of 8 rooms, and then you go through and beat those. And then you go through this dark room to Bowser. If you enter through the back door, it just takes you straight to the dark room. And unfortunately, without a cape here, we aren't able to kill Bowser as quickly as possible. Normally, we'd fly up and hit him as soon as he throws Mega Koopas every time. The no cape fight is still an interesting watch. It's not quite as fast. So he's Dactyly saved the Mega Koopa between the 2 phases. This is because if you hit... in the next phase, Bowser's going to throw bowling balls, and if you hit him when he's about to throw one of those bowling balls, he will just skip throwing it entirely, which saves a little bit of time. And having the extra Mecha Koopa here means he can enter phase 3 with an extra Mecha Koopa as well. So he got hit there, but it looks like he's still got ball skip. Didn't grab the mushroom. Yeah, so normally Bowser would have thrown 2 balls and instead of one. Just moving on to phase 3. Phase 3 again sped up a bit by doing this Mecha Koopa. Normally at the beginning of the phase, Bowser would bounce 8 times before throwing the Mecha Koopa. And that's Bowser done.
So that wasn't quite as good as we were expecting. Our PBs are 128, the records are 127, I think. Yeah, but it's alright. Showed off some good stuff.
If anyone here, if anyone watching is interested in Super Mario World speedrunning, feel free to come up to me after the thing. We also have a wiki and stuff, smwspeedrun.com, for all of your strat learning needs. And yeah, thanks everyone for watching. Up next we have Super Monkey Ball.